Welcome to another episode of Our Community. I'm Alfredo Diamond, and I've got a special guest today, Ed DeLaPaz. Ed, welcome.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks for being here, bud. So, Ed, tell us a little bit about yourself.
So I'm a local photographer. I do graphic design, marketing, and a lot of the events that happen in town, I'm either creating the posters, creating the flyers, or helping actually get the events happening. So I'm kind of connected to the community and trying to just showcase how cool it actually is to be in Richmond and Wayne County.
Okay, all right. Now, we kind of crossed paths as kids and hung out for a little bit there, but where exactly are you from?
So I was born in Newcastle, Indiana, so not that far away from here. But in middle school, I relocated to Richmond, and went to Dennis Middle School, high school, for a couple of years. But my parents were divorced, so it was like going back and forth. So while I did go to Richmond High School, and actually, I was in your brother's graduating class, that's kind of where I got that connection there. I actually ended up graduating from Union in Modoc, Indiana. And then I went to Newcastle my junior year. So I went to 3 different high schools through my 4 years of schooling.
Oh, wow. Tell me about that. That's interesting. So tell me how that came about.
Well, because, sometimes parents divorce, and sometimes, kids are like, well, I want to go live with dad this year, or I want to go back and live with mom. And so it was one of those situations. And by the time I was 16, I had my own car. I was pretty self-sufficient. So I, decided, I want to go out to Modoc because my stepbrothers, I had 2 stepbrothers, same age. Mm-hmm. They lived with my dad. They went to high school. I experienced the Richmond High School, and I was like, I want to try my senior year at a small school, a country school, to kind of have that experience. So Richmond, I think my graduating class was 600 to 800. When I went to Newcastle, my junior year, it was like 300. And then my graduating class at Union Modoc was 23 people.
Wow. Mm-hmm. That's quite a vast difference there.
Oh, definitely, yeah. So I had the realm of experience.
How long have you lived here actually now?
So after high school, I moved off to college, as everyone does. We leave, and we're like, I am never going back to East Central Indiana. I'm never going to visit Richmond, Newcastle, or Union Modoc again. So I went there, went to college, did pretty well. I decided to go into computer electronics engineering because at that time I had the choice of, I could go and become an artist because art was always my background. Mm-hmm. A cartoonist. I've talked about this many times. Garfield, Jim Davis was my hero growing up.
Love
and
Garfield.
yeah, definitely. And so that was my goal. Is like when I graduated high school, I had 2 choices. I could either go to the Dayton Institute of Art, study art, or I could go and understand, computers and electronics because that was the big in.
Yeah.
So as I'm looking at the programs, you look at what does an artist make when they get out of college, and it's like, okay, 20, 30,000. Yeah. And then you look at a computer engineer, they're making 100,000. Oh, yeah. So, instead of following my dreams, I was like, you know what? I am going to go for the money. So I enrolled, and so my first semester in trying to study computer electronics engineering, I realized there was a lot of math. So as an artist who wasn't, math is math, didn't expect that. It was kind of cool. I got to build like little circuit boards, soldering, that stuff, because I was building things, but it was like having to know the math, having to do all that stuff. And I was like, this ain't me.
Yeah. Where'd you end up? What did you decide? The Dayton Institute, or what college?
Columbus, Ohio is where we ended up. So me and my 2 stepbrothers. Well, but the thing was that like after that first semester, we made connections in the business world and, the world of what we now know as multi-level marketing was introduced to me. And I was thinking, all right, this is just a nice streamline, get people and stuff like that. So that was kind of my first introduction to the business world, was going through a couple of years of, can we make this work? How does it, how do you build a business, especially when you're right out of high school, dropped out of college, and people are saying you can make millions of dollars by selling this product, selling that product. So I was a little bit hesitant at the time, but my stepbrothers, 3 guys, and it was always one of those, all right, we got to be better than the other. So we were just kind of grinding that. And then I started reading the content and reading the books, like, okay, this doesn't really fit the vibe of what I wanted to do, because then I just started thinking about, I was like, well, do I want to go down this route? And then all my passion for cartooning, for art, is kind of lost in it, because I'm just looking at selling products and pushing all that stuff out. So I decided to kind of like just step back from things. The brothers kept on going with it. They did pretty well. They actually ended up enrolling in, served in the Army, and they actually did some tours in Iraq and everything.
Okay.
But I moved back to Richmond, so, didn't really have much money left. Kind of as like, I'm just going to go back home. Stayed with some relatives, and then stumbled upon a job at the YMCA, where they just needed someone to run the building that's downtown, back when it was the YMCA, and kind of be that night gym manager in high school. So the thing was that I ran varsity track, and all 3 of us brothers played basketball. So I was, for a 5'8" white guy, I was actually pretty good at basketball. The thing was that it was, it was just like one of those dreams of I could try to go and become a professional basketball player, but it was not going to happen. It was past that period of time. And and that's when you started coming down. We started hanging out, play, some of those games. That was during the time that Dominique was in Richmond. He was coming down, playing all the time and everything before he went off to college and all that stuff. So it was a pretty interesting time and everything. Yeah.
So what exactly took you down the path to go into photography?
I tried to do those businesses. They failed. Came back, was working for the YMCA, and it was fun. I really enjoyed my time at the YMCA, but once again, it didn't fill that passion of the art that I was looking for. So I decided, you know what? If I'm going to become an artist, I don't want to be a starving artist. I'm going to go back to school, and I'm going to finish my degree, and I'm going to finish it in business. So I wanted to go into marketing. So I re-enrolled at IU East to finish out my degree. So I was working part-time at the YMCA, started taking classes, and then my senior year in college, my last semester, I had 1 elective. And I was like, you know what? I've taken everything I can. Introduction to photography.
Dang. Okay.
Right? Yeah. So I'm taking this class, right? And I'm like, just doing whatever I can and stuff like that. And then 2 weeks before graduation, I'm graduating graduating college. And my photography professor comes to me and goes, "Hey, Ed, have you thought about changing your major to photography?" And I go, "I would if I wasn't graduating in 2 weeks." So that conversation kind of just stuck with me because, it wasn't that great of a camera. It was just a little steady camera. I don't know, it just kind of sparked something. So I graduated. I was an AmeriCorps for IU East for 2 years. So I worked with preparing teachers to work in the classroom, because I had all those years experience of working for the YMCA and everything else. I was able to use that to kind of prepare, soon-to-be teachers of how do you actually interact, how do you handle those type of situations, because they had no in-classroom experience, and they're about ready to become, a teacher for the next 20, 30 years. So that led me into my office was in the IU East library. On the bottom floor is WCTV.
Okay.
So my AmeriCorps was ending, and so I had to start looking for a job. And I got connected. Francis Yates connected me with Eric Marsh at WCTV.
Shout out to Eric.
Yep, yeah. And during this entire time, I'm working with Tim Scales. So Tim Scales was,
Tim.
he was my my mentor through my 4 years and everything. So I learned a lot about business and a lot about entrepreneurship from him. So I applied for the WCTV job because I knew that there was a little chance I could brush up on some tech stuff, and I had the opportunity to kind of do some graphic design work. So I was there. I was at WCTV for about 4.5 years. I kind of revitalized and revamped almost their entire systems with how they interact, how they put out content. A lot of the imagery that you still see on WCTV today is stuff that I created, like, you know, 6-8 years ago, and everything. So through my time at WCTV, there was a lot of community partners that would come in and film shows, and one of them was Chamber Chat. So Chamber Chat, Wayne County Area Chamber of Commerce, similar thing. I was working with them. I was getting to the point where I was kind of doing a lot of the graphics, a lot of imagery for their show. And at the same time, I'm just still taking photos for WCTV of stuff, kind of still working on my photography skills. But the thought, experience. Right. Yeah. So the thought of, I'm going to be a photographer here in a few years was still not there. So I started working for the Chamber of Commerce through my experience of working with them on Chamber Chat. And through that experience, they used to bring in a photographer out of town. But anyways, so let's just say that I did a lot of efforts to bring a lot of what was done outside the organization, inside the organization. So I became the main graphic designer. I became the main photographer, and that just kind of added into the experience. And then the urge of back to, when I graduated high school, about starting my own business, started pulling on my shoulders. Was it
scary?
It was terrifying. Yeah, it was. It still is at times when I think about that.
You got to keep that edge, you know?
Yeah. So that happened, right? So I'm looking, okay, I get the urge. I love what I do, but when you work for any organization, you get told, you got to do this, and that. Yeah. And there was a lot of events and a lot of things in town that I wanted to be a part of, but I couldn't because of my schedule, and everything like that. So I started thinking about that. Well, if I make this change, if I do this, if I do that, I may be able to kind of figure this out. So what I started doing was I launched my own brand. So CityLife, right? Originally, I had a lot of other different names, and when you're doing starting a new brand, you always got to think about the .com and stuff like that. And I started thinking about a lot of what I was planning to be doing is informing people. So I settled on FYI, for your information. Easy to remember, and then citylife.fyi. So that's where that came out, because I liked the idea of City Life, because originally the plan was I was going to blog. City Life was supposed to be a blogging about all the cool stuff that I go to, because the major premise that this came out of during my time at WCTV and during my time at the Chamber was there's nothing to do in Richmond. There's nothing to do in Wayne County. There's nothing going on. And I'm looking at my schedule. I'm looking, I have this going on. I have that going on. There's tons of stuff going on. So then I started thinking about that as it's not that there isn't stuff to do, is that people are not knowing what's going on. Yeah. So I decided to kind of start working on that piece. So City Life launched it, and it was supposed to be a blog. Here's where I'm going. Here's what I'm doing. Well, I kind of forgot I'm a horrible writer. Like I can't spell. I can barely spell my own name. Right? Oh God, I wish I had that like 10 years ago. Right. Good Lord. So what I did was, instead I just started taking my camera everywhere I went and just started snapping a couple photos. And actually, I kind of got the statistics because I wanted to kind of share that, because I was backing up my files and I was kind of curious of how many photos have I taken. So I officially launched City Life in 2018. And it was kind of like I was doing chamber stuff during the day. Once I was done with chamber stuff, I would go to an event that and then photograph, and then started sharing those photos and everything. So that process started in late 2018, and kind of started moving on. And then my official last day at the chamber was it was after the annual dinner of 2020. So I did about a year and a half of just the side projects of trying to build this brand, going around, doing as much as I can. Yeah. So in 2018, my first year.
You're everywhere, Ed.
Yeah. So I had a total of 40 photographs I took that I kind of promoted as CityLife. 2019, that increased up to 1,937. So then at that time I go out, and then CityLife is now like who I am, right? In 2020, because of situations that we were at that time, they ended up dropping down to about 1,100 photos. But then that started ramping up again in 2021 as people were starting to do events and everything else again, up to 3,400. In 5 photos.
Wow.
And then last year I breached 5,000 with 5,602 photos. And then as of this year, as of last week in 2023, I've taken 5,112 photos.
Wow.
So yeah,
wow.
So I'm definitely within a month's time, I will have taken more photos this year than I had like the first 3 years combined.
And it's amazing because you can kind of listen to those stats, and I'm kind of reading through, you kind of started your business out, started growing your business. Then we kind of had COVID and everything.
Yeah.
Coming out of that, you did 3,000 or whatnot, and you've done 5,000, and you're on track to maybe another 25% on top of that for this year. That's just amazing.
Yeah. I mean, I'll probably be about 8,000 because we're already hit into the event season.
Oh man!
So we have all the depot stuff, all the Main Street stuff, all of the community festivals and Christmas things that I try to be at and try to be a part of. So that's kind of where the process is to dropping out of college, kind of refocusing and everything to where I am now.
It's just amazing that all our experiences kind of come together, and one day it hits you like, for me, and it's like, I love this. I love helping people. I love solving problems. I love being rewarded for solving problems. This I'm doing what I'm supposed to do. And it sounds like the same thing has happened to you pretty much. Yeah,
definitely. It has been interesting because my goal with CityLife has always been, this is for the community. Yeah. It's showcasing what the community is. So roughly when I started out the first 3 years, every single place I went and was a part of, there was no fee. There was no charge. I'm coming and I'm showcasing exactly what you're doing. Well, what happened was then people were like, well, can you come and photograph this as a photographer? So I was like, okay, yeah, I'll do that. And then it started to end up being, hey, will you also share this on CityLife? So now it's a situation of there are things that I will, if it's open, free to the public and community-based, I will just show up and take some photos and showcase that. But now I have clients who will hire me to photograph their events, and then I will also cross-promote that and share their story on CityLife. Wow. And everything. And they want that too because they realize that that kind of getting the message out there is how they kind of grow their business and grow awareness of what they offer and everything too.
That's great. Man, I've got this segment that we're going to do, Rose City Hot and Ready or Cold and Steady. So I'm just going to just shout out a couple of things to you, and you just let me know what comes to mind, and we'll go from there.
All right.
Sound fun?
Try it. Yeah, let's go.
All right. Favorite park?
Oh, favorite park. So I do visit the Ducks quite often.
Springwood or Glen Miller?
Glen Miller.
Okay.
Man, like if you go to Glen Miller, those Ducks own that street there by the little pond.
Yeah.
Yeah, so they're pretty cool. I also want to say Cardinal Greenway. I spent a lot of time there. Just getting on my bike or just walking is really cool scene that way too.
Cool. Roscoe's or Starbucks?
Definitely Roscoe's. Actually, I just came from Roscoe's right before the filming of this.
Okay. Pizza place?
I have to go with Susie's Pizza. New York style, buy the slice. I don't have to go in there and order an entire pizza. I don't have to go in there and go through the whole process. I can just roll into Susie's Pizza, grab 2 slices, in and out in less than 7 minutes.
Ice cream.
Ooh, I mean, I have to go with Ullery's, but with Ullery's though, it depends on the season. My favorite is their banana ice cream when they have the vanilla wafers in them. Okay. But they don't have that all the time. So I have to keep on changing. My go-to when they don't is just vanilla with chocolate chip sprinkles in it and everything like that. And they know when they're out of the stuff that I like, and they're like, "Oh, do you want vanilla?" And then they'll put a scoop, put a bunch of chocolate chips, put another scoop, and put chocolate chips on top.
They need to come up with a signature dish for you. Gallows or Old Richmond Inn?
So I'm actually going to say Fifth Street Bagel.
Okay.
Because that's also owned by that family, and I spend a lot of time there too. I love their sesame seed bagels, egg and cheese sandwiches, and they have home fries too, which is pretty good.
First place for a first date?
So the place that I used to take the ladies it was improv. It was Diva Improv, right? That was always really cool. Fortunately, they haven't been able to have it this year. But also then too, I've taken some of the ladies to Disney based events. So they seem to really love the ice, Disney on Ice type of things, and everything like that. So it's either improv, something comedy based, or take them to something Disney.
Okay, I see you often out at the golf course. So golf or bowling?
So I'm left-handed. Mm-hmm. Both of those are a little bit challenging for a left-hander. So I have some friends who's into card games. Uh-huh. They've kind of gotten me into card games. So if I had to pick a hobby, I would definitely go with playing, getting together a group of people and having some fun playing some cards.
I've been a bowler for 30 years. We call it lefties. They got it walled up out there. All right. So a little trick. So Earlham, Ivy Tech, or IU East?
I'm a graduate of IU East. I love all 3 colleges, but Red Wolf is where it's at. That's
right. All right. What is one thing about our community that you would like to see come back?
So I would love to see that. I'm not going to say promenade. I know that's probably what you get a lot. Yeah. We need to bring back the promenade, but I would like for us to kind of go back to embracing the Hoosier hospitality, being more welcoming, and being like, hey, come visit us, come and hang out, and kind of having that wide arms, open type of mentality.
All right, I love that. Could you share a memorable moment or experience from your involvement in the community?
Oh, okay. Actually, just kind of talking about that. So I'll walk down to Roscoe's to grab my coffee and everything. So this was springtime, I believe. But I'm walking, I got a cup of coffee in my hand, and I see an elderly couple that's kind of looking confused, looking around. And I go, this is a little odd. So they wave me down, and they're like, hi, could you tell us where the Veterans Memorial is? Mm-hmm. And I go, oh yeah, it's down, that way. You got to go this way, and then you'll go into it. And then I start saying, also connected to the Veterans Memorial, you have the Star Jeanette. And then you can go up the Cardinal Greenway. So I started talking about that, and come to find out, they were just visiting from Fort Wayne. They wanted to come down. They heard about some of the cool stuff that Richmond had, so they took a weekend trip. Mm-hmm. Came down, stayed in an Airbnb, and they were going around. So they started asking questions. I was like, well, fortunately, you ran into a person that probably has a little bit more information than the average person on what you can do in Richmond and Wayne County. So I'm always reminded when I'm planning events, when I'm talking about all the cool stuff, that stays in my mind as not only are we promoting these events to people who live in Richmond and Wayne County, but there are people who do travel. They take their weekend. They hear that the Richmond Meltdown Festival is happening. So they will spend the day. They'll come down Saturday. They'll eat. They will do the activities, visit the local stores, and then be a part of the Meltdown. And that's something that I think that we kind of get into this mentality of that Richmond is for Richmond, but it's not. We are, in the radius. If you look at 60-mile radius, we're it, right? Outside of that, you go to Indianapolis, you go to Cincinnati, and you go to Dayton. Yeah. But you got to look at that all the way up to Fort Wayne Avenue, all the way south until you get to Cincinnati. We're drawing in those people. Yeah. And a great example, too, is that, I do a lot of the websites for a lot of the nonprofits in town. So I've been kind of collecting the data. I've been upgrading. I've been implementing those pieces to be able to kind of grab the viewer, the visitors' data and stuff like that. And one of the interesting things that I started talking to the community and non-for-profits and businesses about is, hey, do you realize outside of like for non-for-profits and like the Depot District, right? The number one visitors is always Richmond, right? People in Richmond, but outside of Richmond, Columbus, Indiana, and Bloomington, Indiana are the next two highest viewers of Richmond, Indiana content.
Really? Mm-hmm. That's an interesting stat. Why do you think that is?
So a couple of things, right? We have Indiana University East. Yeah. We have Donna Spears, who is a treasurer, right? So when she's going to Bloomington for all of the not treasurers, but the role that she plays, she's talking about it, sharing that information. So what's happening is we're starting to see that kind of connection. Between the Bloomington College campus and IU East and everything. And I've talked to several students they say, oh yeah, I graduated from IU. Well, IU Bloomington, and they've located here. So yeah, if you think about that, right, if you're used to the small town type of feel of Bloomington, what are your options, right? You can go to Columbus, Indiana. If you don't want to go to Indianapolis, right? Richmond kind of fits that vibe. We have Earlham College, which kind of has that vibe and everything else. So I think that's really where the draw is coming from, is that we're kind of like the more Midwestern-y feel than for a lot of the area that's around us.
You're so involved, Ed, and it's such a positive influence. Where would you like to see our community in the next 5 years?
So yeah, I definitely would love to kind of see us, like I said, be more welcoming, right? Like we have all the signage. When you cross the border into Ohio, you have that nice giant arch. Where's the giant welcome to Richmond? Even going the Hollywood route, right? Okay. Think about that. How do we draw the people on 70 off of 70 to go and say, oh, that's really cool. I want to stop by Richmond. What's going on here and all that stuff. So that's what I'd like to see is kind of us using the physical space of 70 to draw people into Richmond.
Okay. Ed, one person that you would like to collaborate with that you haven't yet on a project.
So Kevin Shook.
Okay.
Right?
All right.
Yeah. I've been trying
Thanks, buddy.
I've been trying to, find a project for us to work on and everything, but our schedules haven't aligned and everything like that. But yeah, that's something about been working with him, trying to get something going. I've been going for like almost 2 years now.
I'd have to see that project.
It'd be wild.
It'd be pretty amazing. Yeah.
Yeah.
Ed, are there any upcoming events, projects, or causes within the community that you're particularly excited about or would like to highlight?
So one project I have been working on, I kind of spent my summer months working on a project. We kind of going along with City Life. My number one comment I get is, had I known about that event, I would have went. So I get that stuff all the time. It's like, well, they should have marked this better and all this other stuff. And I'm thinking, no, I knew about the event because they posted the flyer. Yeah. I'm following their Facebook page, etc. Right? Yeah. But we cannot assume that every single person who's on the internet is going to be connected to every single event and not-for-profit out there. As much as that we assume that is the case, that, I can put a post on Facebook and all Richmond knows about it. That's not the case. Yeah, no. So I started thinking about, I already have most of these events on my Google Calendar. Already know what's going on there. So what happens if I just take this information, and then my original goal was to kind of share that as a Google Calendar. I was just going to create a calendar here, invite a lot of people, here's what I'm doing and stuff like that. But because of my background in kind of this computers and tech stuff, I was like, you know what? I can just make a quick UI interface, which evolved into a website. So I launched at the beginning of this month, Richmond.FYI. Okay. So for your information, playing off of the CityLife.FYI brand, which I'm starting to call the FYI network. Okay. Yeah. So I launched Richmond.FYI, and it's just simple. So the goal was it's mobile first. So I made it so that it would look nice on the mobile device. Okay. So it doesn't load really heavy. It takes a couple seconds depending upon how big of, how close you are to an actual 5 bars and things like that. But really, it's highlighting all the events. My thought going into it was, okay, if I ran into that couple today and they asked me what's going on in Richmond, I would say, go to richmond.fyi. Here's all the cool events happening this weekend. And so that's the mentality here's all the things that if someone was coming to Richmond that they could do this weekend. Okay. So that's kind of the premise there. So along with that, I got to give a shout out to the Depot District. So along with the stuff that I do, I also do all the marketing and the events for the Depot District. Yeah. So we just had really 2 cool events. We had Richmond Symphony Orchestra came in and they did one of their evening performances. So rather than just set up in one place, what we did is we partnered that with a wine tasting. So we had 5 locations in the depot. People could come sit down, listen to different types of music, and then also participate in learning a little bit more about these businesses. So we had, I think, almost 200 people come down for that in a space that we were, naysaying and, everything was doom and gloom at the beginning of the year because of the bridge construction. But people have really came out and supported the Depot District. I was blown away. And then the following week, we did Dogs Night Out. Okay. And we closed. Bridge construction was going on. We ended up, took the risk of closing the street. And we had another several hundred people come down. And it was a totally different vibe, different feel, different group of people. And they brought their dogs. And it was a really cool type of thing, kind of showing the community that we are dog friendly. We do like pets and everything. So along with that, we do have a couple upcoming events. Oktoberfest is coming up. We have Trick or Treat on Halloween, and then we'll be wrapping up the year at the Depot with Christmas in the Depot, which is the second Saturday in December, and there's a lot of cool stuff that I can't reveal yet, but you guys definitely want to be a part of that. It's going to be really cool. It's been something that we've been hearing for years that we need to do for one of the Christmas festivals, and the Depot's making it happen this year. I'm excited. So that's the little teaser for that. And then lastly, after the new year, I also work heavily with the marketing and for the Richmond Meltdown Festival. So the way it works in marketing is that while everyone right now is getting ready, for back to school, you have your community festivals. I'm working on 2024 events. Right. That's how it works, right? So people are like, I'm so excited for Timmy to go back to school. I go, really? Because I've been working on Christmas events for the last 3 weeks and everything. So that is a little interesting. I work in the future, literally.
Ed, I think you're brilliant. I think everything that you touch is a success. Is there anyone that you would like to shout out today before we wrap things up?
I definitely want to shout out Tim Scales. He's every time I had a crazy idea, I'm like, what do you think about this? And he'll go like, what do you mean by that? And he would make me think about, a lot of stuff that I was planning to do, how to make it sustainable, how to think about the customer and everything else. Mm-hmm. So definitely want to give a shout out to Tim Scales. I definitely want to shout out, the Richmond UEA. They support a lot of the crazy projects I bring to them on, this is the idea I've had. And they're like, we trust you, Ed. Take it and run with it. So UEA, Depot District, my partnership with them has really allowed me to kind of grow what Richmond can offer and everything.
That's awesome. Hey, man, so you got a lot of stuff going on, and I appreciate you taking time out of your day to come join me for a little bit. It's been a great conversation, and I wish you all the best and look forward to keep seeing you grow.
Thank you, Ed.
Thank you, Ed.